Roxanne, the globalist denier.
Wow. Hello and welcome, one and all, to the latest edition of Globe Light Radio, right here on TFR, your protection from deception. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Roxanne, the globalist denier. Paul is taking a well-deserved night off tonight, so I will be taking the reins for today and in charge. With a bit of luck, he might tune in at some point. So if so, hey Paul, big hugs to you and the family, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to do this once again. For those of you who may be tuning in for the first time, each week here on Globe Light Radio, we, alongside our guests, cover the greatest awakening in the history of our humanity as our fellow citizens slowly but surely awaken to the globe deception and discover the growing body of empirical evidence that logically and reasonably points us to the conclusion that our realm is an extended and motionless plane. Whether you're just catching the show for the first time or a loyal listener of Truth Frequency Radio, thank you to everyone so much for tuning in. Whether you're on TFRlive.com or on iHeartRadio or YouTube, we sincerely appreciate that you're spending a little bit of your Tuesday evening or your Wednesday morning with us, wherever you may be across the plane. This is episode 81, and today is the 25th of December, 2019 here in England, and if you are behind me, it will still be the 24th. This is a live broadcast. However, we'll be unable to take your calls as I'm still in training mode with the controls, so I'm going to keep it simple and urge you all to get in the chat room on TFR to chat and interact with us. This week, I'm joined by two awesome people that I'd like to say are my pals. Nev from Esh News in Israel, and joining us shortly will be Richard, aka 007. That's double H07 over there in Tenerife. How are you, Nev, my darling?
I'm great. After this opening of yours, I'm speechless. Astonished. So professional. Anyway, so I'm good. Although it's like 3 a.m. over here in Israel.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for being here with me. You're an absolute trooper. It's 3 a.m. there, isn't it? Like you said, crikey. It's the wee hours of the morning, Nev. You should be sleeping. But I'm glad you're here with us.
It's a good cause, a good reason, and I'm thrilled to just chat with you again. I kind of missed you the last few weeks or so, and I know you've been really busy. Yeah, and also Mr. Paul, I want to send my regards to him, and of course wishing him happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and lots of enjoyment with his family.
Yeah, he's feeling it. He's with the family today. So as I said, you know what? He's one of the hardest working people I know in this. So I can't thank him enough for giving me the opportunity to do this again. And yeah, Paul, I hope you're enjoying your evening with your family and getting some rest. So yeah, shout out to you, Paul. Nice for that, Nir.
And I seem that soon we got dear old 007 joining us, and this is also exciting. And I think that we are like a good trio for this show tonight. Good energies between us, and I'm really expecting that.
Yeah, and our brother from another mother has just joined the team from over there in Tenerife. Rich, are you there?
Hear me now.
I hear you know.
Richie.
Dude.
I'm gonna keep the video off because the bandwidth and the problems that we've been having.
It's good to hear your voice, brother. Good to hear your voice.
Good to hear the two of you too.
Tell the people how you are. I'm going to check out the TFR chat room and tell the people how you are while I'm doing that. I'm going to just give ourselves an audio check because I'm blind right now. I have no idea if anyone can hear us. So you guys, double, tell us how you are as well. And I'll check out.
Do you want the showbiz BS answer?
I want the middle to fairing answer, please.
Yeah, I'm okay, man. Just getting on with it. This is a funny time of year. It causes a variety of emotions amongst many people, and stirs a lot of memories, and so it's me, Rox. I can't. If somebody asks me a question, I can't BS them. So Christmas isn't the best time of year for me, but it's just getting on with it, isn't it? Really, you just got to get on with it.
That's right. That's right. And I like that. I like the positive attitude you've got about it, regardless of the negative vibe it has with it. I'm glad to say, guys, the audio is coming through crystal clear. Yeah. I'm in the chat room just now. I'm said hi to everyone in the chat room as well. So there's people in the TFR chat room over there on TFR.com. Yeah.
Just say to the chat room, you just got a picture of me. What's up? How's it going, chat room?
Love it. Love it. Shout out to everyone in the chat room. If you've got any questions for us this evening as we go through, I would urge you to get into the chat room over there on TFR.com. If you just scroll down, click the chat room toggle, jump in there and come and say hi. We are going to be talking about we the people. Now, some of you may be wondering, we the people? That's a bit general, being a bit vague there, Roxanne. We the people as in what? What kind of subject are we going to go into? Well, pretty much nothing's off the table tonight. There's a lot going on internationally. As I've said before on many shows with Paul and various other shows, we, the people, all pretty much realise that the international leaders are puppets. I think that's, stating the blatantly obvious. But we want to delve into it a little bit more. We want to talk about the controlled corporations that own the media, 90% of it. We want to talk about what happens when those same corporations are owned by political ideology. We want to talk about what happens when the news is no longer free from bias. We want to talk about when fact becomes fiction, when fiction becomes fact.
And we also want to talk about the possibility that some of them might actually have foam brains because they're Muppets.
Well, this is what we come up against, guys. This is what we come up against when we're talking to our counterparts. Lots and lots of my counterparts believe someone in power sitting behind a big brand news name. And I think.
Do you know what cracks me up? Is that because I watch Fox News because it's the only. It's like the most tolerable one of all of them, and they do, with Hannity and with Tucker Carlson, they do have, they're more in Trump's corner, but they sit there, you watch the Morning Crew and stuff, and they sit there talking about the media as if they are not the media. It's unbelievable. I sit there, I'm like, are you guys for real? You sat there talking about your counterparts, your colleagues, as if they're a different entity to you. As if they're the media and you're not. What are you? You're casual bystanders, are you? You're bipartisan observers. Yes, of course you are.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the word observers, because that really kind of brings us to the first talking point that I'd like to bring up this evening. And it's not too heavy. I'm going to start it light. So for everyone that's in the chat room interacting and for all of you listening, I'm going to kick it off with this. Okay. Do people, and I'm talking about people in general, people that aren't really awake to a lot of things, do people just, the human psyche, if you will, tend to follow the majority of mainstream viewpoints in just in fear of being isolated or shunned?
Let's see. I think that maybe the majority of the people are following the media out of habit or so. I don't think that it's kind of like a situation that that people are doing that on purpose, getting attracted to that. If that's what you meant.
I genuinely feel they do. I feel they do. Rich, what do you think?
I agree with that because the majority of people, when they wake up in the morning, what they do is they switch their television on, to get the morning news. And when you think about your average Joe blogs, like my mum and dad and my aunts and uncles, my family, basically, they switch the TV on or they switch the news on the radio to get their daily input of, what's going on today. When your only choice on the television is mainstream media, there is no alternative media on, because even the ones that claim to be alternative that are on the main screen, no, they're not. They're not alternative because they're on the TV. That's the only reason they got on the TV was because they're not alternative. So,
I want
to use the word, the term packed. Okay, when you talk about media today, there is not a single product on television that you can say that is not packed with this whole package of television. Okay, meaning that the reality itself can't really penetrate through this package. Okay, all the news shows and all the series that we see, and of course all the reality shows, which are the most horrifying thing that postmodernism ever created. All those things are kind of like packed together with impenetrable kind of like dome or something like that that nothing can penetrate through. And in this dome, they're producing their own kind of like media, all kind of like content according to their agenda, whatever is that bit at the time. And I think that the lesson that I got with being involved with Flat Earth is that we do have a place for an alternative media in some way. And what is alternative media? I think that alternative media is.
I think you are. I think you are. I think you are alternative media. I'm starting to think your average citizen journalist is now becoming the news.
Exactly.
I just want to chime in here because I've had an interesting point put into the chat room over on TFR.com. Psycho Dave 321 says, I think they do on social media, but not necessarily in private. Like within their friends and family, but on social media, maybe under an account that's not their name. I'm just thinking, I think we can equate this even to people that partake in voting. I saw a lot of bits and pieces across the States where people, if they openly stated that they supported Donald Trump, then, there was some, type of isolation and shunning going on even in public. So I do think some people are willing to say things on social media, but in private it's another thing. So yeah, thanks Dave for your comment there. And Half Q, no, they feel empowered by repeating the talking points that the mainstream gives us, and then they're enlightened, silly sausages. Yes, agreed. So many are totally confused when confronted with anything that contradicts their core belief. It is truly a deer caught in the headlights. That's from Kanda Kurt. And those comments there from the TFR chat room. Thank you so much for your interactions, guys and gals. I think most people turn on their phone in the morning rather than the TV now. So the news they get is from friends on Facebook, etc. What do you guys think about that, Nir and Rich? Do you think people are starting to sway towards the alternative media?
Yeah, I don't turn my phone on. My phone's on, but I pick my phone up. And the first thing I look at is my notifications to see what's come up on YouTube.
So, do you no longer trust the MSM? I just want that because
I haven't
there's
trusted
a few new
the
listeners in the
MSM.
chat room, Rich, as well. A few people, Dave from South Wales, brand new to this show. So there's a few people that have not listened to the show before as well. So they might not know what kind of standing. So could you just let the listeners know where your ethos is on this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I haven't trusted mainstream media since 9/11. I've never really trusted the mainstream media, to be fair. It got worse after the 9/11 bombings, and then when I woke up, I hadn't been watching. I stopped watching mainstream media in 2009 when I left the country, and I went to Portugal. That's when I disconnected from the television. So that was like a natural disconnection that happened.
Right.
And then I woke up in 2013, and from that point on, my only media has been YouTube. YouTube and the internet for research, basically.
Okay.
So
all right.
I
That's where you're
any
at with
attention. It. Yeah, I haven't paid any. The only thing I know about mainstream media is what I see on YouTube and what my friends tell me.
Okay.
I think that I've been quite a consumer of mainstream media for a long time. And this is one of the reasons that I went over to learn my degree in media. I have a BA in media, and I kind of like my quest when I went over there to learn that is to create alternative media. I couldn't really define at the time what is alternative media. And I got into to broadcast into radio over there called Kola Campus. And it was considered like the most alternative radio ever, like in Israel, okay? You can broadcast whatever you want over there. So I did. I broadcast hardcore techno on Saturday afternoon. Yeah. And I was sure that I was doing like fine. Yeah, I'm doing whatever I want. And then they came over me, the managers of the radio stations. They told me, "What the hell are you broadcasting hardcore techno on Saturday afternoon?" I told them, "Yeah, this is what I want to do. This is the reality. Okay, this is what feels like. Okay." And I said, "No, we got like rules over here." And then I figured out that also in the most non-conservative place, people are still like have this pattern of how things should look, and this is the package. Now, what is alternative media? Okay, in my belief, what I see right now, and actually Flat Earth has been a big awakening for me in that moment. Alternative media is when the reality is penetrating inside this package, inside this dome, okay? That you are watching something that's kind of like, it looks like reality, okay? And not like the usual packages that we see on television every time. That's why the people that are posting on Facebook in the morning and people that are doing YouTube shows and things like that, they are from the reality. And they're not going through this package of the media. So this is the alternative media, in my belief. And once I saw like people from Flat Earth are doing presentations and shows from their home, okay, with zero budget, and doing that with quality content and with real content, this was a big eyes opener for me. And this is where I kind of like got attached again into my alternative media quest of mine. That was something like 15 years ago when I learned my degree.
Wow.
I actually did media studies in college. I did a media studies A-level. I did media studies and film studies.
Oh, good. So do you know what? I feel like I'm talking to the right guys about this then, because with what we're saying, with what we're saying, I would like to ask you and the audience that are listening, if you are interacting in the chat room, then this is another time I'd like you to interact, please, and answer it in the most simplest way possible, because this is something that comes up when I'm out doing activism, talking about everything that comes under the global eye, really. How does the average person who's under constant financial stress, and we're talking about the average person here, so I'll just repeat this. How does the average person who is under constant financial stress, by design, I'd like to say, find time to research and discern fact from fiction? How does one average person who's working, how does someone who's working, your average job, you're doing between 30 to 40 hours a week. You might have kids, right? You've got extra commitments, bits and pieces to do. How do you find the time to research things and discern fact from fiction? How is one supposed to know how to sift through all of this madness and work out what's legit and what's not?
I've got an interesting and fairly unique to your average person perspective for this, because my position is, I say the only reason that I woke up and saw what was going on was because I had the time to sit there and look at this stuff.
Right. So you think it's time?
And when it's all about time, which is exactly why they have designed everybody's life. If you're gonna run the rat race, you don't stop running. You can't stop. You have to keep running and running and running. Because I did it a couple of times. I got onto the hamster wheel and then, tried climbing the ladders. And I managed to get myself to a position where I was earning like 60 grand a year. And I was heading up a sales force for a software company in America, heading up the European sales arm. And I was getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, leaving to drive to work, but by sort of 6:30, I'd leave at like 6:30. I'd be at work by about 7:15 to be all logged in and everything by 7:30. Then I'd leave work at 5:30. Take me 2.5 hours to get home because of the traffic. Then when I got home, I'd have a cup of coffee and then I'd log back on to the system and I'd work till gone midnight online doing conference calls and stuff with people in America. And I had no time at all. If you're earning over 30 grand a year, you've got no time, man, because you're working at least 40 hours a week. On average, aren't you? You still there?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still here as well. Sorry, my mic was on mute briefly there. I'm loving the interactions. Interactions in the chat room are brilliant. Half Q says, audiobooks in the car do work if you're driving. If you're in the car a lot, you can do, podcasts, audio. You can try and inform yourself. Alternative radio shows at lunch. And I'm just going to scroll back a little bit.
Can I make a point though?
Go.
I mean, this is like, I don't know what I am. I wouldn't say that I'm average because of my profession, everything where I live. But I'm an intelligent guy, right? I'm 42, so I was born before the internet. I grew up before the internet really even took off. I was grown up and I'd left home, and I was working in an office before the internet actually really kicked off. And so I've seen both sides, and I'm fairly technical now because of my YouTube creations. But so, like video editing and doing the editing of the sound and stuff. I didn't even think about truth radio, even though I'm on TFR now. I didn't even think about listening to a truth radio station during the day. It's like all my brain goes is YouTube and go, YouTube go. That's my that's my programming.
See?
Yeah.
See?
Anyway,
for me, this resonates because this is where we're at, though. This is how it's done by design. It's got to have been designed like this. It can't just be a coincidence that we just so happen to not have the time to look into things and to check things out for ourselves.
I guess I want to mention to go through over here to a little delicate place called Israeli politics, if I may, and it's related to media. And what I'm going to say right now, I'm going to take a declaration before I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I'm not like a supporter in any way of the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, or his party or whatever. But what we're seeing here in Israel in the last 3 or 4 years or so, you see a collusion okay, of both the media and the legal system and the law enforcement system. A whole collusion of presenting...
Gosh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. No, but a whole collusion of people who decided that they just want to replace the prime minister. Come on, he's done enough. It's been 10 years already. Replace him. But this is what they want to do. So what they did 3-4 years ago, they decided, okay, we can't beat them by elections, so we'll do the following. We're going
to cut to break now. We'll be back in a few minutes.
I'll get back with bigger stories.
Cayenne.
Younger with nature's hand through.
Okay, I think we're back. I think that was the end of the intro into the second half. Sorry, I was thinking to myself, is something else going to play now, or is that it? Thank you so much for joining us back for part 2 of Globe Light Radio here on Truth Frequency Radio with myself, Roxanne the Globalist Denier, Niv from Esh News in Israel, and Rich, aka 007 over there in Tenerife. Guys and gals in the chat room, thank you so much for interacting. I'm going to try and include as many of your comments as possible, so please do carry on interacting as we are only just getting scratched the surface. Just before the break, Nir, I rudely interrupted you as I was so into what you were saying. I completely forgot we had an ad break coming up. So, Rich, Nir, cheers for still being here with me, my darlings. And Nir, carry on.
Sure. I remember you asked about how do people get influenced by the media, by the mainstream media, and I started talking about Israeli politics, which is a very delicate and touchy subject, especially nowadays that we don't have a government for the last year or so. Yeah. But I'm going to talk about it because it is related to the media and the collusion and what we had about 3-4 years ago is that people from the media, from the legal department, started to go with accusations and cases versus the prime minister, Bibi Netanyahu, and they got all kinds of evidence or all kinds of witnesses that kind of claimed him. Now. The thing is that I'm not gonna touch the question whether he's blame or not and whether he did those things or not, but I'm sure 100% there's a collusion over here because what I'm seeing in these 3 years or so is that almost every night at the news, 8 o'clock news, you can see people, the anchormen over there, commit a felony, a crime over a live broadcast. Okay. So what they're doing is that they're taking all the transcripts from the investigation of the prime minister and all the witnesses and publish it on live on the air, which is supposed to be confidential material. So you kind of question yourself, okay, how did they got these transcripts? They got it from the law enforcement and then from the legal councils, and then they just switch the reports, the transcripts to the anchormen, and they are announcing it to the entire of Israel. So this is kind of puts me into question. Why are they letting them do that? Why are they letting them doing a criminal offense over in primetime television? Okay, and get away with that. They're not doing anything to them. Okay, so and afterwards, the after effect of that is that people are family, friends are coming over to me and starting talking to me about politics. and they're telling me, "Oh, Bibi, he shouldn't even run to office. He shouldn't be like in politics. He should be concentrating on his courts and crime, criminal offense, whatever." And I'm telling them, "Wait a second, where did you got this information? How do you know that he's not?" That he's already like charged and he's a criminal and doing all of that. Who told you that?
Yeah.
And the straight answer is like the media, okay? And the media always have an agenda, okay? It has an agenda, and this is how you can't really, distinguish between right or wrong, between false and true. And again, it's not related to my political views or whatever, or in general to politics. It shows how it's like the system is built up this way that people can decide kind of like a decision and work together with all kinds of different parts of the government, and the media is like the front view mirror or something like that, the front window, okay, of what we are seeing, of what is supposed to be the truth. Okay,
so for someone in Israel, for someone in your country, for someone who's doing a full-time job or even a part-time job, how does someone in your country find time to research and discern fact from fiction? How is one supposed to navigate that in Israel?
I think that it's all a question if you feel like, first of all, that you should consume some kind of like other media. I don't think it's a thing of time, okay? It's a thing of decision. Meaning my parents have much time, or everybody else, to watch reality shows on television, okay? And this is their choice. It's a poor one, okay? The people that are waking up, or the people who are getting to some kind of like situation that they can't stand this falseness or this lies that are keep showing them on television, not only on the news, but also, especially have a thing against reality shows, because reality shows are like proclaiming to be reality, but they're nothing but they're actually all lies that are like creating some kind of like false reality where people are not acting like themselves. They put them in different kind of like harsh situation which are not really reality, with people who are not gonna be their friends in real life or whatever. And
the celebrities on at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
The celebrity get me out of here.
So this kind of thing, like when the most popular genre is reality, okay, and you know that is the most false one, so you know that you have a problem over here. And I think that you should wake up someday, okay, and tell yourself, okay, I should inject myself some kind of other type of media, or something which is more truthful in some way.
The thing is, I think up until recently, up until the last couple of years, right, people waking up has been very determined by circumstances, and it's really only been people that have suffered really severe situations that have shattered their paradigm in some way or another, have shattered one of their paradigms, or multiple paradigms within their life, and caused them to question reality and say, what the heck's going on? And they look on the internet and they come across things, and then those things resonate and they fall down the rabbit hole, and the rest is history. And then a couple of years ago, Q came out, and everybody's going, you got some people that are with Q and some people that are totally against it and saying it's a psyop, and it's Q's just a psyop, it's a deep state psyop, and they get quite angry about it, and they get as angry about that as some globers get about flat Earth, or even flat earthers, like I do get. I'm not a flat earther, but I'm a globe denier, and I get really angry when people not so much now. I get angry inside. I try not to express it so much now. But what Q did, it actually doesn't matter. I don't think that Q is no. I think there's too much has happened. There's been too many kind of perfect coincidences for it to have been totally people outside of the government. I think that Q's definitely was started. You know, this has got some deep roots. It started with some deep roots.
Yeah.
And I think the idea's been there for a long time. The plan's been there for a long time. The maps.
There's been a multitude of predictions of future events that are undeniable proofs.
The map actually starts to make sense now. And
understood. Yeah.
And because 2017 I was wide awake, and I poo-pooed it. You know, I watched it for a while, and I was following somebody else that was looking into it, and he followed. There was a psyop aspect to Q, and that was to chuck everybody off, and it successfully chucked a lot of people off. But what you cannot deny now is that Q has caused a movement, and there have been millions of eyes upon everything that's happening for the last 2 years, and those eyes would not have been opened without Q. So there's been, in the last 2 years, there's been a big movement of people that haven't necessarily been shattered. Their lives haven't been shattered, but the majority of people are struggling. It's very few people that are, you know, comfortably getting through life. Everybody's got some kind of stress, either financial or family, or, you know, there's some kind of circumstantial stress in people's lives. And so, you know, people that it would have taken longer before to wake up, and they might never have.
I think, like Paul on the plane says, people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. I think if you look at the international climate of things, right, you've got international politicians stepping down, hundreds of thousands of CEOs walking away with resignations, sealed indictments, child trafficking arrests.
Ross, you know? What I've been witnessing over the last 3 months with the indictment inquiry, and then the indictment, and now is it an indictment? Is it not? It's an indictment light, as Trump says. This is an indictment light. It's just this event itself, if this hasn't woken up 1 million more Americans who, you know, have been watching it and have, right up until this point, right up until Adam Schiff got up on that and was a chairman of that inquiry, right? If that didn't wake 1 million Americans up, oh my God, I don't know what would. Because I'm absolutely certain that has to have woken hundreds of thousands of Americans up who up until now, you know, might have heard what was going on, but they're just putting it to the back. You know, they're going, so it's just a load of rubbish, And then suddenly Adam Schiff gets up with his wide eyes and says, gentleman's not recognised. No, you can't do that. You know, and just completely, it makes an absolute, that was the biggest kangaroo court type scenario I've ever seen in my life. The entire thing has been a complete effing pantomime, and it makes me furious that you know, that this is going on. How is this going on? How are these? This has really made me like, these people are governing me. These people have authority over me, and they're writing laws that they're not in my favour, you know?
Yeah.
And I have to bow down to these people, and I have to pay taxes to line their pockets and make them even richer. You got Nancy Pelosi walking around with 120 million, not doing a single thing for her state since she took office. Her entire career in office has been Trump's impeachment and hoarding and getting more drunk on her 120 million. And everybody's just sat there listening to her talk, watching her talk. Nobody's dragged her off and said, you don't get that gavel. You don't get that money either. How's about you do some work? You actually do something for the people that you're meant to be representing. It's disgusting what's happening in America and all over the world, man. All over the world. I'm sorry, rant over. I'll shut up now. I'm sorry.
No, you're all right. That's what this is all about. This is about getting everybody's point of view. And I think when you're awake, you stand on the outside of the stable, you know, groupthink, collective type thing, and have free thought.
A lot of people have to have the same thought. You know, I'm like, how can I ask how many people in the chat room? Oh, I can't see the chat room. So how many people are sat there agreeing with me?
I think it's a bit of a mix, really and truthfully. Pelosi, she's a money laundering via Ukraine. They're all getting rich. Exactly. These puppets their days are numbered. Their days are absolutely numbered. You know, they want the people divided. They want the people divided by religion, divided by sex, divided by political affiliation, divided by class. When people are divided and angry and controlled, you know, divided we're weak. Divided, we pose no threat to their control. Absolutely no threat to their control whatsoever. You know, when non-dogmatic information becomes free and transparent, it becomes a threat to those who attempt to control the narrative or stable, you know, belief system.
When people hear things like from childhood, you've heard the phrase, "United we stand, divided we fall." Right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's got to have heard that, haven't they? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's just words, isn't it? People just play lip service to it because united we stand, divided we fall. Sorry, what? You support Trump? Rah! You know. We nearly need to start listening to these old sayings that we used to have. Things like that. Things like "United we stand, divided we fall."
Interesting. I think it's interesting how we've left some of those sayings behind. I think we should do a revival of those sayings, brother. Man. I think. Yeah. So, my next question, right? I'm gonna switch gears a little bit, right? I want to know, what do you think would happen if the news, the mainstream news, was free from bias? What do you think would happen?
I can't imagine that. It's hard to imagine.
So if you were to remove the deep state, remove the deep state influence, so you remove all the gags, you put journalists like Lee Stranahan in there, and they are totally impartial. When I did journalism in college, you know, that's what we were taught. You were meant to be completely impartial, totally objective. You just state the facts as they are. And if that was to happen, people might actually get educated. If journalists were actually investigative journalists, basically journalism is supposed to be like police work. You know,
investigative journalism.
They're meant to investigate what the story that they're pursuing. They're meant to get all the facts that they can from every angle that they can in order to provide an objective, view, a journalistic view that will give everybody a fair. Because it's basically we are the jury. So the journalists are essentially they're the lawyers, or they're the no, they're not the defense, are they? Because they're neither side. They're presenting all the evidence, and we're the jury. We have to make up our own minds. And that's the trouble with the press. And
that's what I think is happening now. Don't you think that's the climate of where we are now? Don't you think we, the people, are coming to the point where they are actually becoming to make up their own mind? Because I think, a lot of the people I speak to on the street, Rich, don't think the mainstream media is actually any, longer reliable. I
mean, when you've got...
I was going to say trustworthy, but that is the words that people use. People don't think it's, they say that the news is no longer reliable, the news is no longer trustworthy. So then what happens? What happens
I
then?
mean, when you've got the likes of We Are Change and Press for Truth, shout out for both those channels, by the way. You know, that's true investigative journalism. So as long as as long as YouTube is up and running, that's a good place to get a wide, the trouble is you got to have discernment, haven't you? People have got to have a certain level of intelligence and discernment, and you can only have discernment with intelligence, and intelligence isn't all about what you know.
Now, I think that the media itself kind of like stopped doing the job of the protector of democracy, the watchdog of democracy. This is like the sentence that they always use, the watchdog of democracy, and it should like protect us, protect the whole thing of democracy. Now it's kind of a question. If they stop doing their job, or is the democracy, okay, what we define as democracy, is worthwhile, watching her, okay? Because I do think that democracy had a big problem once it was like invented in modern time. It's a very simple problem, which is they said, okay, power to the people, but we'll put a leader on you, okay? And this leader will represent you, okay? And I think in the short run it went up all right, but in the long run it happens that some people came up and they were like opposing the leader. So it got all kind of like differences between the people of the same state, and then the people should be straightened up by the leader's opinion, okay? That's what happens in democracies, and then you got like these in all our countries, in Israel, in the UK, in the United States, there's all this big division between the sides, okay? Because the people are thinking elsewise than the leader, okay? Now I think that it's kind of like it's a different kind of like government or something like that. But I think that the problem is that with the concept, the leader itself, okay? Take for example, okay, my example that showed me the best how it can be without leaders is actually the Flat Earth movement, okay? Because we don't have any leaders, okay? We have people, we have smart people, we have people who are like more observed than the other, whatever. But everyone is performing his own role and his own job, and no one can tell me in Flat Earth community whatever I can do or cannot do, or will take taxes for me or whatever. Okay, because there is no. You see, it sounds absurd if you look at our community. Okay, because we understand the concept. How important it is that there won't be any leader, okay? That there won't be anyone to make his opinions, upon everybody else. And I think that the media itself, okay, they are just a tool in this whole democracy thing. They tell them you're the watchdog, and they're like, oh, what should I watch? This is democracy. It's not really worthwhile watching. Yeah.
So we can all agree. Certainly, the three of us can all agree we've been lied to. Bang,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So another thing that they've lied to us through using and through, as with our language and democracy. There's two words that we've been completely misled over, and that's democracy and anarchy. Two things that people, when you say those words, the ideas that pop to mind are actually completely inaccurate to what those two things are, because democracy is mob rule and can always be corrupted. through
Okay.
ego. It's
So
mob rule.
I've got a question, and I'll get you to start off with answering this one, Rich. Right? How do you introduce the truth about what is happening, right, to the public when narratives are when narratives are created and pushed to prevent the public from discovering the truth? So how do you introduce the truth about what happens to the public?
See, this is
when
where I get
the narratives are created and pushed in the first place.
This is where I get a little bit philosophical about it, and a little bit what's the word's not coming to my mind, but I don't think that everybody, right? Not everybody is ready for the truth, and there's all these different levels and different layers of truth.
Yeah.
Because what's true in one paradigm isn't true in another. And those two paradigms can exist side by side within a community.
Mm-hmm.
This is why people need to understand the importance of paradigms and what paradigms actually are.
Yes. Well, I'm going to let you start off talking about that for about 60 seconds, and then will we carry this on after the break, because time seems to be flying while we're having fun.
Well, let me just finish what I was going to say about anarchy, because anarchy is actually...
If I cut you, it's because we've gone to break.
Yeah, no worries. Anarchy, a true anarchistic society, if you look into it truthfully and using common sense, a true anarchistic society is actually a very beautiful, harmonic society, because everybody governs, you govern yourself, and we're all good people. And those people that aren't good people don't get to live in that community. They just get moved on. Go and make your own community somewhere else. Go and be that person somewhere else. If you want to live here, this is how you are. This is how you have to be.
Nice. We'll be right back after this. We'll be right back.
Frequency Radio is your number one source for news and information without the mainstream media. Truth.
Christmas gift depends on... I'm Christopher Cruz.
This is Truth Frequency Radio.
The wicked ones obviously under heavy Masonic influence.
Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. For your mind.
But never fear. TFR is here. Truth Tuesday continues here on Truth Frequency Radio. Hour 2 of this week's installment of Globe Live Radio continues with your hosts, Paul on the Plane and Roxanne, the globalist denier.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Why would any of the ruling class want this information out? They need you in your own mind prison in order to inflict their will on you.
Join us in the chat at TFRlive.com. Or better yet, give us a call at 213-233-3998 and join the conversation as we break down the latest news and continue our coverage of the fastest growing worldwide community of globe deniers. Take it away, Paul and Roxanne.
Breaking news.
Over to you, Near.
Hello and welcome to Breaking News from Esh News. I guess Richie, Roxanne, today was actually a very interesting day here in Israel, and we did, I think, a very courageous step. And I will tell you the story from the beginning. It's been running for the last month or so in our social networks and in actual real life. It all began a month ago when a group of our Israeli flat earthers went over to the Sea of Galilee, and they did a very successful experiment over there where they found no curvature on the distance of 9 kilometers. They did with the mirrors and everything, and they had a really good times over there, and a lot of good conclusions and filming and everything.
I saw the video for that you sent me. That was good.
Yeah, good. And we get it translated pretty soon. And after that, we got Matan Gorodish. He's one of our prime members of our Flat Earth Israeli community. He's the one who's giving lots of presentation over on YouTube, and he's really active. And he actually did a tremendous thing. He was invited as an alumni of his school to give a lecture. Okay, in his high school, his old high school, and over there he went with the conclusions of this important experiment, and he gave a flat Earth lecture for about an hour to a 9th grade students. Okay, inside the high school. Okay. And it was a very successful one. He actually recorded it, and I saw his lecture, and it was great. He's a tremendous speaker. And we got another sound over here. Yeah, thanks.
That's all right. Carry on.
Yeah. Now, after his lecture, he got references from very concerned parents in Israel. Okay, that they kind of questioned why someone who's like a flat earther comes to lecture at schools, at the education system. And because of that, he got really pretty much exposed over in the media, over on the Ynet Ynet website, and he also been hosted in all kinds of radio shows and TV shows. And he even had in one TV show, he had a debate with some kind of astronomy teacher from high school. He kicked his ass over there, and
it's not hard to do.
Yeah.
Really?
The thing is that I looked at this astronomy teacher and told Matan after the interview, I told him, I think that this astronomy teacher actually proved it that there are aliens. I don't know. Anyway, after that, I kind of interviewed Matan and to summarize his week, and he told me over there in this conversation, listen up, Neil, what we should do now is send a letter to all. I got really fired up with this debate, and what we need to do now to write a letter and to all the academies and all the universities in Israel. Okay, and try to convince them to have a debate, an official debate in their premises. And he told me, Neil, you are writing well, and you should write this letter. And so I did. And today we kind of we of course verified with all our friends who are signed of this letter, and we sent this letter to all the universities. I got just today it's been sent, and we are waiting for the reply. If you want, I can read out to translate the letter for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, definitely should. Sure. This sounds very similar, doesn't it, Rox? This sounds very similar to what you and Anthony talking about with the schools in England, and can we talk about the debates?
I would have thought so.
That you had, that you and Anthony went and had, that weren't allowed to be recorded and stuff,
Oh no, I didn't go with Anthony. I went with Gary and Ruben.
Oh, well, Gary and Ruben, right? Okay, well, you've gone and debated, haven't you? So you've gone and done that.
Yeah, and they still couldn't produce any evidence. They couldn't produce not one shred.
You won the debate.
Where was it?
Can you say?
That was at Oxford. That was at Oxford University.
Yes.
Ooh.
Oxford
University.
They debated the professors at Oxford University.
No, it was the lead students under the professors.
It
was the lead students.
The lead students are the lead students because they're completely indoctrinated.
Gary and Ruben, they did an amazing job, an absolute amazing job.
Ruben made the membrane.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, before I pass this, Half Q in the chat room said, "Can you ask Near about the temple on the mound? Apparently, they've leaked some papers, and the temple is going to be built. It's just a case of getting the go-ahead or something like that."
The third temple.
I'll talk about the temple later on when I mention Hanukkah times, which is very important for me to mention in this program. But first,
we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, but first of all, I want to read out the letter for the universities, if possible.
Yes, please.
Yes. Okay, so first of all, it's addressed to the following: the Physics School of Astronomy, the Faculty of Astronomy in the Science of Science in the University of Tel Aviv, the Physics Department in the University of Bar Ilan, the Physics Department in the University of the Negev, it's in the south. The Physics Department in the University of Ariel, the Theoretic Physics and Astrophysics in the University of Haifa, and the Astronomic Club over the University of Tel Aviv, and my favorites, ESA, the Israeli Space Agency. They're the ones who I'm keep trolling on my shows every time. I'm keep researching what they're doing every week. They have very amusing stuff that they're publishing over there. Anyway, to the letter. Subject. Conducting a scientific debate about the shape of the world in the heliocentric model. In the last years, we have the debate on our social networks about the actual physical shape of the world in which we live. In the media, in the various media, as Facebook, as in YouTube, people are questioning. People in Israel, in the world, are questioning about the truthness of the heliocentric model. And lately, Mr. Matan Gordish conducted a lecture at the Amit Technological High School, concerning the theory of flat Earth. We, as the people who are a part of the flat Earth movement, we are interested to get to the research of the scientific truth of the place we all live in. And we're sure that it's time to settle this issue and to settle the differences that there are between us and science and academy. For that, we want to offer a debate without prejudice when we have a scientific debate between the two thinking groups. The offered debate will be held filmed and open to the media event and to the for the crowd, in which one side will ask the questions and the other one will provide proofs, empiric proofs, and after that they will switch roles. Each side will be able to present his accurate model on his thoughts, and we are not stubborn about the place where the place will be held, and we'll be happy to make it in their home court of the academy. And we there present our panel members. We are addressing to the lecturers, okay, to the senior staff of the academy. Okay, we're not to the students. All right. Now it's important that we don't have any claims about any other scientific fields, but all that related to the heliocentric model. And we believe that with this debate we can bring forward the investigation of truth, blah 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 blah. And this thing should be resolved going for the truth, I guess. This is my translation. Anyway, we'll thank you for your honorable, address back, and we're waiting. This is the letter that was sent, and we are waiting to see what's going to be like in the next few days or so. And actually, this is step 1 of our program, of our plan. Step 2 will be in about a week or so, once we won't get any dignified answer from those establishments, so we will unleash the media on them. Ha 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 ha. We will. we will use their own tool. The thing is that Matan Gorodish, he had like pretty much of good relations with the media lately because he was like interviewed over there. He got interviewed in something like 20 mainstream media places like radio and television, and he's going to refer to them, and he's going to ask the media to ask the academy why don't they answer our letter. So
the thing is, I think what we have to what we all have to remember is that the people that are the professors and such like the lecturing in the academies and everything, they've built their entire careers on this model. So you have to get over their ego before you can really break through with any of this information, because their egos will not allow them to let go of the fact that they built their entire careers, their entire life has been built upon this model. So we're coming along with sledgehammers to smash it to pieces.
It's fire, Richie, fire, Esh.
To burn it down,
Yeah.
But I like the thought of this glass, this fragile glass globe, and just walking up with a big sledgehammer and going, just watching, like a bauble, when you smash a bauble off a Christmas tree. Do you ever do that? Have you ever done that? It's wicked, man. Shooting baubles with an air gun.
No, I haven't done that before.
Yeah, it's good fun. They just shatter.
Yeah, it's good fun. Yeah.
They shatter, man. And that's what the globe. That's the globe, basically. It's just one bit. We're just with this one pellet, and it says no curvature.
What are you like? What are you like?
All right. So I guess we are expecting to this response, and we'll of course update you over at Esh News. And this was my breaking news, I guess.
Please subscribe to Esh News. Please subscribe to Esh News. We want to get the subs up to thousands so that you can get live streams.
None, people, come on.
We want live streams. We want Esh News live streams from Israel.
Good.
Big time.
I wanted to speak to you about Hanukkah, if I may, or you still want to speak about the media?
No, you go for that. Go for that. Because
can I just say quickly?
It's all encompassing under we the people, Rich and Near.
Yes.
Anything goes with this one. Obviously, as everybody knows, it's international revolt against globalism on a massive scale at the moment, and realistically speaking, as we've already mentioned, alternative media, citizen journalism, I really feel that the real news now is with the people. And so I'm happy to go wherever you guys want to take it. We are now halfway through the third segment.
And can I just remind, because just as soon as you said it, what popped into my head, right, was Ross of Friends, and the episode where they've got Santa. And the
Hanukkah armadillo.
Ross comes in dressed
like an armadillo.
He's Spudnik.
Well, guys, before we go any further, I am going to give everyone in the chat room a shout out. Half Q, Drone Free Zone
What's up?
Is in the chat room as well. I'd love to give them a shout out because they've been interacting like Billio. Absolute Billio. So thank you guys for all of your interactions. Alan Holman as well. Thank you so much for your interactions in the chat room. It's lovely, as I said, to see everyone going back. No Voter LD, I think that's that name. I'm hoping I'm not mullering people's names. Kanda Kurt as well. Thank you so much for your interactions. I'm just scrolling up because I don't want to miss it. This is new to me, this chat room, but I definitely said to everybody that I was going to get back in there. It just keeps scrolling down to the bottom, so I'm going to try and work that out in a second. But again, thank you so much everyone for your interactions. With that being said, we've got just under 15 minutes for this section, so yeah, where do you want to take it, guys?
Yeah, I'm gonna take it to
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah. Yeah, Hanukkah. Chag Sameach, people. We are on Hanukkah. I don't know what Christmas is all about. Seriously, I'm as a Jewish person living most of my life over here in Israel. I don't have a clue what Christmas is. I'm gonna talk to you about Hanukkah. And how it got. I kind of like researched it a little bit in the last month or so, and I got really excited what I found out about this holiday and how it kind of like relates to our Globe Live movement and to our current days, which is kind of like amazing for me. And first of all, today is I think, fourth candle of Hanukkah. Okay, we celebrate Hanukkah for 8 days, and I guess the main story that they actually tells you at school or at kindergarten relates usually to the miracle that happened in Hanukkah, which people are believing that they wanted to reinitiate the temple, and they got like a small vase of oil that lasted for 8 days, and that was sufficient for them to light the menorah for each day. And this is like the story that I tell you, and because of that you got like this dreidel thing that they're playing, and you got like all the oily foods like I know, like donuts and the latkes and all of that they eat at Hanukkah. But I think that there is kind of like I saw your show yesterday, Roxanne, with about the Mandela effect, and I kind of like thought to myself, oh, Hanukkah is quite a Mandela effect in that aspect, because what they're truly hiding is the real story that kind of like led to this miracle. Okay, and this story is about fire. Okay, in one word. Okay, Esh, yes, Esh News. For who doesn't know, Esh is fire in Hebrew, and I think that the whole holiday is being with the background of fire. Okay, you have the Chanukiah, which you light it each day, and it's all about also being always celebrated in December, which is a Sagittarius sign, which is also a fire sign, and. But the Esh is not about this miracle of the vase and the oil and all of that. It's not this Esh, this fire. The real fire is the fire of the rebellion, and the story goes like that. That it was the 2nd century BC. Okay, and at those times the Greeks, the Hellenistic culture, was controlling this whole area of the Middle East. It was from the Alexander Mukdon times. They conquered the whole Middle East until I think it reached over to Persia. And in those times they tried to compose this kind of like a culture in the places that they conquered. They didn't like annihilate all the people that they conquered. They just tried to put inside the Hellenistic culture, which was in those times supporting in sports and science and philosophy and theater and festivities and Hellenistic culture, and of course multiple gods. Okay, multiple gods, sculpture,
and also promiscuity and drunkenness and
yes. In some ways, people sometimes compare Rome of those days to nowadays. Okay, but I think that the Greeks were more like easy to compare to nowadays time. Now, I think that when they arrived to Jerusalem and they conquered Jerusalem, also that the Jewish people inside Jerusalem became Greeks. They even opened a gymnasium in Jerusalem and all kinds of other Greek facilities. And some of the Jewish people were okay with that. But I think close to 168 BC, the king Antiochus, the Greek king, he kind of like came back for a quest in Egypt, where he failed over there to conquer Alexandria, and he was a little bit pissed off, and he came over to Jerusalem, And what he did, he kind of like entered to the temple, the sacred temple. It was the second one, okay, not the one of King Solomon, the second one. And he started to violate the temple, okay. He kind of like he destroyed the altar and he destroyed all the religious artifacts. And instead of them, he put all the gods of the Greeks, all the sculptures of them, which is in Judaism. You shouldn't have any sculptures, of course. And he kind of like made all the Jewish people over here that were still in Jerusalem, still practicing Judaism. He made them to worship all the Greek gods. Okay, not only that, but also to be immersed in their culture lives. Meaning, they kind of like made them participate in Dionysus celebrations. Do you know who's the Dionysus?
No.
Yeah.
No, he was the god, the Greek god of wine and pleasure and good times.
Okay.
And over at the month of May, at springtime, they had big festivals of there with big time orgies and
Dionysus was Pan, wasn't he? In Roman.
In Roman, yes. Yeah, but in the Greek it's Dionysus. This is like the origin, and over there in those times, of course, the Jewish people didn't really connect it to these kind of like celebrations, and this whole kind of like trying to control both their spirit and their mind with this Greek Hellenistic culture. And what happened afterwards? There was a rebellion. Okay, the family of the Hashmonaim, the Maccabees, kind of like. They were like the underground group, okay? They went outside of Jerusalem, started fighting the Greeks from over there, and then after that conquered back the temple. And this kind of like this rebellion itself and the fire itself, this is the actual story of Hanukkah. The word Hanukkah means to reinitiate, okay? To reinitiate. When they attend to the temple after it's been violated, they reinitiate it, and this is what we're celebrating for. Now, I kind of like found it all connecting now, okay? Because what you said about the media and about we the people and about the time of Hanukkah and about this fire that I feel inside, and even like in connection to what I said earlier about my breaking news about starting to be active over here. This kind of fire is this thing this is what we need right now. This is the time of the fire in my perception. Okay, and this is why I even called my channel Esh News. Okay, Esh is also like flat Earth in Hebrew. Fire, but fire. Okay, this is the element that I wanted to touch over here, because I think that everything that revolves around flat Earth has to be with a huge flame of fire behind you that will give you and motivate you to, as Richie said earlier on, burn it down. We
want to burn it down.
And this also like it's connected to everything which got to do with mind control, with consciousness, with all the people that are trying to put any kind of like other belief inside our head, and of course hide that from us, which is the most obnoxious things to do.
I find this all riveting. I feel like we need to do like a whole segment on this, because as I'm listening to you, we're literally just a couple of minutes away now from the end of the third segment of tonight's Globe Live Radio. This has been absolutely fascinating. This is why I really love opening up the table to all of these topics.
By the way, I sent you earlier on to you and Richie the song of Hanukkah, which is called Banu Choshech Legaresh. And I think I want to read that to you if possible.
Yeah, we've got time to do that.
You got time for that, right?
If you can do it in 90 seconds, go for it.
Okay, so I will sing it in Hebrew or a translation of it?
Sing it in Hebrew.
Hebrew. Banu Choshech Legaresh. Yadenu or va'esh. כל אחד הוא אור קטן, וכולנו אור איתן. צור החוסר הקטן על השעות.
Hey, folks.
More than a dozen astro footage.
No hype.
For the break, you were singing us a song, weren't you?
Yeah, I did. I hope that I did a good job. I suck at singing, but I sang the song of Banu Choshech Legaresh. I want to just translate the song for you, if possible.
Yes.
Banu Choshech Legaresh, we came to vanish the darkness. In our hands, light and fire. Each one of us is a small light, and together we are a strong light. Go away darkness, away blackness, go away in front of the light. It's kind of like, as I sang it, you can sing it in all sorts of ways, but it always sounds like chanting or spell of some sorts. This song, it's very mystical in some way, and it's very. I think it's very powerful. Okay, it's very powerful. It talks about vanish the darkness with the light and the fire and everything. And this is how I feel in this Hanukkah holiday, that I need to vanish the light. Are you coming with me?
Love that. I'm coming. I'm into the light. I'm well into that. Thank you for that, my darling. I really appreciate that. Now, for the last section here, there's one more thing that I'm going to have to zoom along to, because I'm not going to get enough time to talk about all of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight. So I'm going to zoom right along to the end, because there's a little bit of information that I'd like to give you all. Something that I've personally been looking into, because I feel that this is something that kind of explains what we're seeing as a self-evident truth with, hundreds and thousands, if not millions. When we look at Hong Kong, when we look at South America, when we look at the yellow vests in France, when we look at all of the countries internationally just now where the people are revolting against the narrative, they're going against the grain. I, for one, am advocating for making taxation theft again. I know there's a lot of people in other countries that are, revolting against what they are paying in taxes. Now, I feel like, the minority isn't a minority. It's actually a silent majority. We've touched on this evening. But according to a new study that has been done, I say a new study, it's one that I've come across that's been done a couple of years ago at the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. It says here, what does it take for an idea to spread from one to many, for a minority opinion to become the majority belief? According to a new study by scientists, the answer is 10%. Once 10% of a population is committed to an idea, the inevitable that it will eventually become the prevailing opinion of the entire group. The key is to remain committed. The research was done by scientists at RPI's Social Cognitive Networks at Academic Research Center, which is known as SCNARC, and published in the journal Physical Review. It says in the review, and I quote, "We show how the prevailing majority opinion in a population can be rapidly reversed by a small fraction of randomly distributed committed agents who consistently proselytize the opposing opinion and are immune to influence. Specifically, we show that when a committed fraction grows beyond a critical value, i.e. 10%, there's a dramatic decrease in the time taken for an entire population to adopt said committed opinion. In particular, for complete, basically it states here that 10% is critical mass. That is the tipping point. When a number of committed opinion holders is below 10%, there's no visible progress in the spread of ideas. It would literally take the amount of time comparable to the age of, a couple of generations or a few generations. Do you know what I mean? More than a lifetime. But once that number grows above 10%, the idea spreads like a flame. Now, I say this.
That 10%, aren't we?
Well, the thing is, the reason I say this is it's funny because people, the human psyche, tend to follow the mainstream majority viewpoint in fear of being isolated or shunned, as we stated before, right? The majority of people are more prone to believe someone in power sitting behind a big brand news name saying it over and over and over. Do they count on the fact that people, the human psyche, are more prone to believing something if it is heard over and over again by different trusted sources? And then the echo chamber tactics provide validation, credibility to the topic point being discussed. Yeah? That's literally a threat to intellectual freedom. So my point being, with the topic that we talk about, i.e. the globe being a lie, I genuinely think there is a lot more than 10% that are skeptical about the moon landings, skeptical about the place that we live in, but yet we've got the mainstream media still pumping out a particular narrative. So I want your thoughts on this, guys, and your thoughts in the chat room.
I know it's more than 10%.
No, you guys can pick who goes first. I feel this is not going to be an easy one to answer.
Oh, I know it's not. I know it's more than 10%, because I can say from personal experience of the last 4.5 years, from landing on this island, speaking about it from day one, when I got on this island, to now, the difference between then and now is extremely noticeable. It's massive. The difference is massive. There's members of the group of associates, you know, I call them associates because I don't know them well enough for them to be friends, but they're a group of people that all congregate, you know, in the club, and there's actually a couple of them that have piped up recently in the last couple of months, and it seems that they totally, they're absolutely, the globe is a lie. They're lying to us about space, and they're lying to us about the shape of the Earth, because I've woken them up, because I've been talking about it, and that's made them think about it, and they've looked at the islands that they can see, and they've gone, ding, oh yeah, that's 125 kilometres away. We shouldn't even be able to see that. Globe's a lie. It's easy when you live here. It's really easy. When you live here and you open your eyes and you see it, boom, the globe is destroyed. Their globe model is destroyed in a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think that I think it's not about the numbers and percentage. Okay. I think that the real value is related to how much we are connected, how much those people are connected with each other. For instance, I'm just remembering an example from today. When I sent this letter, I talked to Matan Gorodesh, and I told him, I published it like in our Israeli Facebook groups and the official Flat Earth and Globe Discussions group and the Flat FE activism, whatever. And then I told him, I forgot the most important one. I forgot to send it to Flat Earth Philippine Movement Facebook group. Okay. Now, and Matana was like laughing at me and said to me, why do I care like about the Philippines? I told him, Matan, they admire you. When I published there something like earlier about your speech at the high school, they kind of like liked and everything out of the most groups that I published. Okay, they adore you over there in the Philippines. You must publish everything you do over there. And what I'm trying to say with this example is that we need to be connected, because we are living in this time that this connection is possible between us in different countries and different continents. Okay, and we are able to establish kind of like even emotional connection, okay? Enough with when I'm looking at my relationship with you and Richie, Richie, I never even like met him, and he's like my soulmate, you know.
I love it. I love that. That's what it's all about. You're right, though. The connections. That's what it's all about.
The connection and
not isolating yourself and connecting with people. Yeah.
Yeah, and as long as more as those connections will be more powerful. Okay, this is where like people will start to feel the fire, because this is actually this is the fire. Okay, whenever you're like being connected with a person, especially I myself like to be like connected with people abroad, like you in this, like you in England, in the States, whatever. I feel this kind of like a warmth of fire that I spoke about it earlier. I think that this is kind of like ignites the fire with whoever who's like taking part with this connection. Okay, and each time that we are doing this kind of like a international connection, I think that we are strengthening this connection, and this is what important, not the numbers themselves. Okay, because the numbers themselves, as you told earlier, they will come. Okay, they will come as long as we stay firm in our mind and our concept. So correct. I think my call, okay, again with this fire that I kind of like lectured before, is the fire should be about the connections between the flat earth, the globalized people, whatever. Okay, this is the way to do it, and the numbers will come eventually. I do accept that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. I'm just letting everybody in the chat know, if you've got any questions for us just in this last segment. As I said, the phone lines aren't open tonight because I'm still learning. But if you have any questions for us, don't hesitate to pop those in the chat and I will happily facilitate getting those questions answered for you. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this so far. And I'm sorry if I've kind of gone a little bit too in depth with certain things, but there was some topics tonight that I really wanted to get out onto the table. Guys, is there anything that we haven't discussed already or brought up already that you'd like us to because I wanted you to have time to talk about the temple. Ne.
Oh, the temple. Oh, we already discussed the temple with Hanukkah. But
yeah, but there was people saying that there's been leaked documents about the fact that they've one's going to be built.
Oh, one is going to be built? No, the thing about the third temple, it's like a prophecy. People usually in Israel, the religious extremists are like sometimes go up to the Temple Mount and try to set the cornerstone for the new for the third temple. But it's kind of like they're saying that the third temple will be built only when the Messiah will come, okay, on his white donkey or something like that. Now, but I want to address actually to the temple itself. It's located beneath the Wailing Wall, okay, the Wailing Wall of in Jerusalem. Now, the Wailing Wall itself, I do believe it wasn't really built by. It wasn't like the part of the temple, okay. It was built by Romans afterwards, and afterwards they kind of like tried to hide this place with the temple itself. They tried to hide it with the wall over there. Now, remember telling you about President Weizmann and him trying to take over the secret Isaac's well at the time?
Yeah.
So I kind of like found out recently in the documentary that I saw that over there in the 20s, the same Weizmann dude, he tried to purchase the Wailing Wall. It was under the control of the Arab population over there at the 20s and 1920s, and there were like struggles between Jewish people that wanted to pray over there, and it just came over there and it tried to purchase it from the Arab Waqf. Now, have you seen more Masonic thing to do than to purchase the Wailing Wall with money over this holy place? This is crazy.
Oh my gosh. My gosh. I'm dealing with a little bit of an issue in the background here. Rich is having incredibly difficulty in getting a connection. I'll tell you what, the island of Tenerife, there's a lot of dark spots on the island because he's having an incredible time. He's had to rejoin us a good few times. I'm just trying to get Rich back. So sorry about this, guys. Yep, Nir, if you want to carry on, my darling, I will just try and get Rich reconnected in the background. We've got about 15 minutes left to go.
I have an issue. I have an issue to resolve. Okay, and I think this broadcast will be nice. I've been struggling with myself lately with globe life, flat Earth, and politics. Actually, we got an election coming up. The third elections in Israel. The third ones in March. Okay, after not being able to conduct a government on the first one and on the second one. On the third time, it will surely not succeed. Anyway, over there the third time, and people in Israel are fed up with elections. It's so boring.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah, and they look at it and say that's all like personalized. They don't have any agenda over there. It's nothing. Okay, over the third time, we're going to try to decide whether it's Bibi or Gantz, the other dude. And what I told my Flat Earth members, my Flat Earth friends, is that, come on, we should take this opportunity and try to conduct a party, okay, a party of Flat Earthers, and try to run for the parliament. Because I do think that people are so bored up and so frustrated from this politics that even the ones who are not Flat Earthers will tell themselves, okay, I will just, in spite, just argue the government and vote for this Flat Earthers party. In Israel,
I'd probably vote then.
In Israel, we got like a very open kind of like system of.
And I'm not into voting. I'm not into voting, but I'd vote.
Yeah, me too. I'm actually been totally fed up with voting, and but I'm telling myself that if I will try to influence anyhow in politics, this will be the right time. Because we got first of all, we got a great platform. Okay, we got like really good issues and discussions.
I think we're definitely moving to try next year to put some kind of alliance together, some kind of official something, because we need that to actually go out onto the streets. We're starting to wear thin on the streets because of legislation and laws and stuff that we don't really want to adhere to, because a lot of people that I go out on the streets with are into natural common law, and they don't legal name fraud is rife amongst the people I'm associated with. So yeah, I think that's really the forecast of the next 12 months. I think that's maybe where we should wrap it up for the evening and give our 2 cents worth on what you see the forecast being on the next 12 months, because that's what I see. I see us progressing towards putting something official together.
What is my prediction, you say? It's interesting. The thing is, I can't really give any prediction, because Flat Earth and Global Eye world always seems to amaze me, okay, in what kind of like possibilities and what options are like on the table. I do wish that the connections that I talked earlier about are gonna be stronger, and out of that, all kinds of like new projects and new products will come out and be more like, and put the whole Global Eye on the map and on front stage. This is I think it's like one step at a time. Okay, it's not something that a big burst of something will happen. Maybe it will. Okay, maybe it will. But I think it's like hard work and each day work. And for instance, you, Roxanne, I'm seeing you like almost every night going on broadcast and everything. This is what you do, okay? This is what you do. You make this connection stronger between the people. And if you were involved in the Global Eye Tour or whatever, I see that you are like, you understand how much it is important. It's like a muscle that you have to strengthen all the time, okay? And it's like a slow process, but I think that it's working out for us. We're going to be bodybuilders at the end, I think.
Thank you, Nir. Rich, what about you? What do you see the next 12 months being?
I don't know if you can hear me.
Hello?
Yeah, you can't hear me.
I can hear you. Go on. Just speak up a little bit.
Oh, you can. You can. All right. Yeah, sorry. I'm just getting really pissed off. I can't. Can you ask that question just again.
Not a problem. I'm saying, what do you think is going to happen over the next 12 months?
Hopefully they'll sort my internet out. My Wi-Fi, so I keep getting disconnected every 5 seconds, and you having to call me back, and then I lose all track of the conversation. In the next 12 months, honestly, I don't want to speculate about it. I really don't. And I mean, I'm quite positive about it. I'm optimistic. I think Trump is doing well, and I think he's going to win 2020.
I second that. I definitely second that.
I'm glad you heard all that.
Just
I'm
about.
on
Just
bar.
about.
One
about.
bar 3G. 1 bar 3G I'm on now. No Wi-Fi now. No more Wi-Fi for Richie.
We got there one way or the other. Guys, how can everybody find you? Rich, I'm going to say it for you because your line's a little bit choppy. I'll start off saying it for you. So Rich over in Tenerife, his online name is 007. That's the word double, then OH and the number 7. You can find 007 on Instagram and YouTube. Is there any other platforms anyone can find you on?
No, no. Instagram and YouTube. I've got a profile on Facebook, but there's no point in messaging me or anything because I don't have Facebook.
Cool.
On any of
So
my
YouTube
devices.
and Instagram. That's where you can find 007.
And Skype, obviously.
There you go. And Skype too. And Near,
007 on Skype.
where can everybody find you, Near?
Yeah, we are as always at Esh News, and as always, it's like just the last month or so. Anyway, we kind of like we have a new channel for the last 2 or 3 months ever since we got acquainted in Amsterdam. I came back and started this channel. We got like, and I'm doing almost every week. I'm doing like a weekly update now with like 2 or 3 hours of program when I interview people.
Brilliant.
And as Richie said before, we need more subs. Come on over to Esh News, bring me some subs. Anyway, and we're also over there on Facebook on Esh News Flat Earth Israel. Mm-hmm. Lately, I've started talking more about in my shows more about Flat Earth Hebrew and all kinds of like Bible connections. And this is like a topic that I usually like to be involved with, especially because I do master the Hebrew language, which is like kind of like my special hobby. And I got into the recognition that being involved with Flat Earth and knowing Hebrew, it's very useful.
Yeah.
And besides that, all my content is in English. Okay. This is one thing that I do in particular in Israel is doing all my content in English. That it will be that you and Richie and everyone else will be able to understand and get to know what's going on over here in Israel. So,
excellent. Absolutely brilliant. So everybody check out Esh News and check out 007's content on YouTube as well. With a couple of other things I just want to mention while I'm here. I'm not sure if we will be doing a rerun or a live next week as it's New Year's Eve, but watch this space because we'll see what I can do. I'm not sure what Paul's plans are, but I will endeavour to try to go live next week, because by the time I go live next week, it'll be 1 a.m. in the morning. So it'll be 2020. And for the Americans, it'll be 8 p.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Eastern. So I may just go live next week, depending on what Paul says. So as I said, watch this space. This has been an awesome hangout with you guys this evening. Thank you so much for joining me for tonight's episode for We the People. Everybody in the chat room, everybody that's listening live now, and if you happen to come across this and you're playing it on a rerun, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. Guys, it's been awesome. we're going to wrap it up for this evening. And if you want to catch me, you can find me on YouTube as well as Roxanne the Globalist Denier. I'm also on Instagram, and I'm also on Twitter and on Skype and on Facebook. And it's like the list at the length of my arm there. Again, I cannot thank you enough. I'm just going to go into the chat room again. Lunderground is in the chat room as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Half Q, lovely to see you still there. And who else is still there? Drone Free Zone is still in the chat room as well. Thank you so much for all of your interactions in the chat room. It's been brilliant going back and forth with you all. I will endeavour, as I said, to be back next week. This has been Globe Lie Radio. I am Roxanne the Globalist Denier. And other than that, I'm now trying to wrap up the show on time and not go over. And the intro or the outro is not playing. So that's great.
Thank you for listening to Globe Lie Radio with Paul and Roxanne. Please visit TFRlive.com to listen to past episodes and consider becoming a full-time supporter of TFR by purchasing an all-access pass and join